Yo, what is up guys, Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So, some positive news in the world of boxing. Well, it appears that way at least. According to various reports, including on Boxing Scene, Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia has now been finalized. Now, providing that this fight does transpire, and if it happens, obviously we would be looking at the first quarter of 2023, I would imagine, maybe April. But providing that this fight does take place, then I think it would be a massive shot in the arm for boxing and a big positive for the sport. Obviously, in recent months, we haven't got certain fights. Certain fights have fallen through, most notably Undisputed in the heavyweight division. So there's been a lot of disappointments in boxing in the last few months. But again, if this fight were to be made, I think this would give boxing a massive shot in the arm. And I think this is one of those fights, one of the rare fights in boxing that could actually cross over into the casual market. As we know, Ryan Garcia has a growing fan base on social media. You know, this is a guy who is known in the social media circles amongst the younger generation. You know, very popular on TikTok, Twitter, etc., Instagram. He's got a growing fan base, I would say, in the Zoomer audience, whereas Tank Davis has a big following in his local area of Baltimore. He usually sells quite a lot of tickets when he fights at home. And even Tank himself, he does cross over to a certain extent to casual fans. You know, Tank Davis is relatively big in the hip-hop community. So both of these guys, I think, will bring non-boxing fans to the table. And naturally, that is going to make this fight that much more successful and that much bigger. And naturally as well, us hardcore boxing fans will be looking forward to this fight. I know I certainly am. Stylistically, this one is very intriguing. Both guys are athletically gifted, blessed with good hand speed, good power, explosiveness. Ryan Garcia, of course, is the bigger man. He would have quite a big size advantage going into this fight. That is obviously something that we would have to consider going into this fight. But on the flip side, Tank Davis does have more experience in the pro ranks. He's had more fights. He's been doing this for longer, and one thing about Ryan Garcia, you still sense that he's a green fighter in his style. I think he's shown improvements in his last 2 to 3 fights, especially with Dan Goosen, but some of those same errors are still there in Ryan Garcia's game, and you do wonder whether a quick-handed puncher and a counterpuncher at that, Tank Davis can counterpunch. You do wonder whether Tank Davis can expose some of those defensive flaws, you know, chin in the air, backing up in straight lines, that sort of thing, you know. You know, sometimes even now Ryan Garcia has the tendency to fall in with straight shots, and you do see Tank Davis as a guy who can exploit those flaws, you know. He's got the speed, he's got the power, and I think he's got the timing to make something happen. But on the flip side, Ryan Garcia is so much bigger, and he hits hard himself with very good hand speed. So, you know, I could easily see Ryan Garcia making his size count in this fight. Maybe we see Ryan Garcia get behind that jab more and throw straight punches. And yeah, I think Ryan Garcia will land on Tank Davis, because Tank Davis himself, one area in which I believe he's overrated is his defense. I mean, I've seen many a guy piece up Tank Davis, but the difference is, usually the guys who Tank's been fighting have been smaller men coming up in weights, and they've had no power or were shot. I'm talking about guys like Yuriorkis Gamboa, Leo Santa Cruz, Ricardo Nunes. You know, these guys were able to land on Tank Davis. Even Rolly Romero, who has no discernible skills as far as I'm concerned, he was finding Tank Davis. So what happens if Ryan gets there first and he starts landing on Tank early? Can Tank take those shots? We don't really know how good Tank's chin is. He's not really been hit by a puncher. But again, the same can be said for Ryan Garcia. We've seen Ryan get dropped by Luke Campbell. What happens if Tank lands a big shot as Ryan Garcia overextends? I can see either guy getting knocked out in this fight. I can see either guy getting knocked out. I could see this fight. I could see this fight going either way. I guess I would anticipate that this fight does end in a knockout, no matter how it goes. I think that's the most likely outcome in this fight. But a decision fight isn't out of the realms of possibility. Sometimes when you get two quick-handed punchers squaring off against each other, sometimes that can result in both guys becoming cagey and kind of not taking many risks. That could happen in this fight, because one mistake and for either guy, it could be lights out. Who knows? Maybe it's one of those fights that is dull until somebody gets knocked out. Maybe this fight has multiple knockdowns. I can see this fight playing out in numerous different ways. And regardless of my final prediction for this potential fight, I wouldn't be comfortable with it because I can see both guys winning this fight. And as far as I'm concerned, that means it is a good fight. So we'll see what transpires. In fact, looking on Twitter, according to Rick Glazer at least, it is looking quite likely that this fight could be in April, and maybe Tank Davis has a tune-up fight on January the 7th. So we'll see what happens there. And we'll also see what happens with the TV networks in America. Will this be a joint pay-per-view with both DAZN and Showtime? We shall see. But listen, I hope that this isn't a cock tease. I just hope this fight happens. I think this fight would captivate not only the casual market, but us hardcore boxing fans as well. Us uploaders who make boxing videos. I think this fight will capture the imagination. So, fingers crossed this fight happens. Also, in regards to weight, I have seen a few different reports. I've seen some reports saying this will be at 140. Other reports that it's going to be a catch weight. We shall see in regards to that. But, yeah, looking forward to it, man. Fingers crossed, toes crossed that this fight actually gets made and we get a date and that it happens, man, because these are the sort of fights that boxing needs. These are the sort of fights that haven't happened often enough in 2022. These younger guys, you know, these guys in their primes need to start squaring off against each other. And yeah, this fight's going to generate a lot of interest. But who have you guys got? Like right now, gun to your head, who would you pick? If you can only make your one pick now, who are you going to pick? I mean, I ask you guys that question, but I'm not really sure myself, you know. A few weeks ago, I was kind of thinking Ryan Garcia wins this fight, but now it looks like it's happening. I've kind of gone back on myself. So yeah, I mean, I like this fight, man. I like this fight. It's nice to actually talk about boxing and be happy. I say that, watch it get cancelled or some bullshit happen. We shall see anyway. Share your thoughts below. Been your guy, Delboy. Peace.